forward to it. My name is Julian Halls, but everyone calls me Jules. I'm currently director of coaching at Holcombe Hockey Club, which is one of the top clubs here in England. I played in a previous life. I played international hockey for about 12 years, and went to various major tournaments. Won a couple of medals. We were never the best national team in the world, but I think we probably achieved what we should have done. And as soon as I finished that, I came out of Sydney Olympics in 2000. I went straight into coaching elite hockey. I'm still very lucky that I'm still doing that now. But I'm moving a little bit more now into coach education, doing less sort of club stuff or whatever. And I'm really keen to find out how things are going in Kenya with my friend Moses. Holcombe. So Holcombe, we're based here in the Medway towns, and the Medway towns are the old docking area on the north of Kent. So back in the day, so the house next door to me was the house of the English version. I can't remember their name is right now. The English version of the Wright brothers that invented the flying planes. I can't remember their name. The Short brothers. That house is next door to me here. And this house that I'm in, and the row of houses, townhouses here on top of the hill, these were all Admiralty houses. So the Short brothers owned that, and the Admiralty owned all these houses because all the cruise liners, they were all built down here in the Chatham dockyards. So if you watch films like let's think of one, Les Miserables or Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr., they're filmed in the old boat construction hangars in Chatham Dockyard. But of course, the docking industry has gone completely now. There's no docking now. There's these old docks, no docking at all. So the Medway town has had to change enormously. There's a tremendous amount of people here, and it's here that 3 hockey clubs merged. I think it was about 20 years. It was about 10 years before I joined Holcombe, I think, or 15 years before I joined Holcombe. 3 hockey clubs merged. 3 local hockey clubs. Old Holcombe being Templars and Gillingham and Rochester. They merged to form Holcombe Hockey Club. And they took a very long-term lease on an old piece of waste ground that was a school playing field, but basically was just full of dog walkers, broken glass and needles, just like a horrible bit of wasteland, basically. They took that over under the main direction of the chairman, David South. And he actually won his MBE for converting it into a sports ground that many people in the local area can use. There's nothing like this around here. And Holcombe grew from that. And as David's business grew, he is a real kind of hockey fan. Yeah, completely. He's just passionate about it. He used to, until about 2 or 3 years ago, he'd umpire every weekend for the Kent leagues and stuff like that. And as he made more money, basically, he's a very successful businessman. And as he made more money, he didn't really give the club lots of money, but he certainly lent the club lots of money without any interest, which is worth an absolute fortune. And the club developed its facilities, developed its playing side, and we're now, there aren't many of us, I don't know how many there are, but we're one of the very few clubs in the country that has men's and ladies Premier League hockey teams, basically. And I look after the men, as well as some other little bits and bobs, but I look after men, basically. And that's Holcombe in a nutshell. That's where it's at. I became a coach when I was a player. So I planned my coaching very similar fashion to the way that I planned when I was a player. And we got this picture up here of Michael Jordan's hand on the basketball. And when I was becoming an athlete, if you like, I studied the fella lots because he was at his peak of his powers then, going through the sort of the 90s and stuff. And I studied him a lot. And the way that he broke down being an elite athlete is the fact that you have to make sure that you train with the greatest quality, not necessarily the greatest time, but the greatest quality. If you don't do the fundamentals correctly, you're always going to have a ceiling on what you do. So if you have a technique to learn and you don't learn it properly, that poor technique will have a limit to how good it can be. If you learn the technique properly, the natural limit is a lot higher. You have to turn up every day as if this is the only time someone's ever going to be with you. So you can't let any days go by as days I can't be bothered, days I don't care about it. And to give yourself a chance of success, you have to put many things in your favour as possible. So I had that as a player, and I used to train, 3 or 4 times a day. training stuff. I used to go out twice on Christmas Day, just so I knew in my head I'd done it and I wasn't sitting around, drinking sherry and eating mince pies. I'd had to feel like I was doing something. I thought, in the reality, it doesn't make any difference. But I just thought there aren't many people who I'm going to play against who are going out on Christmas Day, so it's made me feel better. And so when it comes to coaching, I'm very, very similar. So we have really, really simple, steadfast parameters by which we play by. And I think one thing in hockey that I've never understood is that I think people think way too much about it. We get so hung up on being clever and technology superb or technologically superb. And actually, there's some really simple things about it. If you analyse most goals that go in, someone somewhere's either made a mistake or someone somewhere's done something really good. And if someone does something brilliant, there's nothing you can do about it particularly because it's just too good for you. Or if I make a poor error, it doesn't matter what the rest of the game is. That poor error will cost us a goal or cost us a penalty corner and the corner goes in or whatever. So I've always thought in hockey that people just go way on trying to improve things that have maybe a 1 or 0.5% chance of making a difference. Now, you can put the argument, if you do enough of those, you might end up with a 5% difference. Oh, sure. But of course, if you don't tell people how to tackle, there's a 30% difference immediately. And so a lot of the stuff that we do, people just get carried away. Now, I've never lost a game of hockey and come off and thought they were tactically better than us. Not ever once. It just hasn't ever occurred to me. Normally, you lose, say you lose a game 3-2 or something, and the first goal, the keeper let it through his legs. Well, okay, nothing to do about that. The second goal, the went in and scored, nothing to do about that. And the third goal, the guy beat 5 people and roofed it on his backhand. Well, not a lot we can do about that. And that's how it goes. So I think, so when I coach, we have a few parameters that we just work on incessantly. And the only really clever bit is having good parameters, for one, and then making the coaching interesting so people can keep practicing similar things and not get bored or demotivated doing it. So we practice certain things a tremendous amount in certain scenarios, and we just get better and better and better and better at doing those. And my team, they do really, really well because we don't have any current internationals. And there are 6 teams in our league that have, or 7 maybe, that have international players. We have some decent players, no doubt about that. Oh, we have one now. So the goalkeeper this year, Ollie, he's just hopefully going to get his first cap in a couple of weeks against England. But apart from him, no one. But we have lots of guys that work really, really hard. We're fit as fit. I've got an exceptional personal trainer for my team who looks after Anthony Joshua. And my boys run like you wouldn't believe. They are incredibly fit. Yeah, it's amazing. So we have very, very high levels of fitness. We don't tolerate off, talking to umpires, silly. We don't have any of that. We play with 11 men. Makes a lot of difference. And the parameters by which we defend, by which we attack the circle, by which we out, are very, very simple. And if they're simple, anyone can grasp them. And if they're simple and anyone can grasp them, then when you're playing, you can play with confidence. You don't have to worry too much about it. And the idea is that we give people chances around the field to do that individual thing that makes a difference, but within our core structure. And then the last thing is that the most important thing in what we do is we defend with passion. And if you look at any, doesn't matter what it is, there are no team sports, successful teams that are not built on sound defense. And that's not even up for conjecture. So whether you look at, LeBron just won with the Lakers just now. So you look at any amount of basketball years, you look at Chicago Bulls up here when they used to win. You look at the top leagues football team, they don't trade points and trade goals. They have sound defense. And that gives you the platform to go score and be authentic. And that's what we do, basically. It's all educated kind of sport. That's the way it is. And I'm not really that. So I'm mixed race. My mum's from Guyana in the Caribbean. My dad's a white man from just around the corner here, as it happens, in Kent. And I didn't go to independent school. I went to a state school. And I only played hockey because my dad played it, basically. And so I took it up quite late. But I'd always played it as a child, just mucking around in the garden the same way as you play football or tennis or whatever you do in the garden, or cricket or whatever. But there weren't really sort of club junior sections there, and so I wasn't really playing it much at school. But it did kind of tell a guy called Phil Anderson, who's just a lifelong friend of mine now, who joined my state school, which didn't really play hockey, but he was a hockey player. So the two kind of things is kind of perfect storm. And I just was, I was a county cricketer. I used to play for Essex cricket when I was younger and stuff. I used to play for Essex basketball when I was younger as well. But I was reasonable at those sports, but I just seemed to be much better at hockey. So without really necessarily choosing hockey, I just ended up doing more and more and more. And so that went through. I had some difficult times when I was a bit younger, but I kept going more or less. And then when I was 21, I got picked for my first senior England game, which was at a tournament called the BMW Trophy in Amsterdam. And I played against the Netherlands and India, my first one. And I did about 3 years, went to the World Cup, went to the European Cup. Then I just got a bit bored and decided I had enough, really. I kind of wanted to do some other things. It was taking too much time. And I had a career, and my firstborn was very young then. And I was missing everything, and I wasn't really enjoying the hockey, so I just kind of quit international hockey at the end of 1991. So quit that, and then just sort of played a bit of club hockey. Did nothing through the summer of '92 when Jimmy went to the Olympics in Barcelona. I wasn't playing international hockey. I had no intention of playing it ever again, to be fair. I was kind of concentrating on the career that I had. And then the Olympics didn't go particularly well, and the manager and coach got removed from the team. And once they did that, the new fella who was a manager rang me up in some point in 1993, early 93, I guess, and said, look, I've heard various things about you, whatever, some good, some bad. I want to know how you feel about coming back and giving it a go again. And it's just too great a thing to say no. I just couldn't say no. And then that was it. I just went through from 93 through 2000. Some good opportunities. I played professional hockey in Australia in their national league. Played professional hockey in the Netherlands. I did the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games, more World Cups, more European Cups, indoor as well. But to be honest with you, by the time I got to 2000, I just kind of had enough. You get bored of airports and hotels. The game itself is irreplaceable. So to get out on the pitch and to play against the best people in the world is something you can't buy with any amount of money. And I would never, ever tire of that. The training, whilst it's arduous, I just love just concentrating on training, getting fit, getting in good condition, getting flexible, eating properly, sleeping well. That's all really, really good fun. Everything else, it was just killing me, man. Hotels, airports, just like I've been missing my family for months. I mean, I just had enough by 2000. So I was kind of, I never officially retired. I got suspended because I didn't rest for long enough. So they suspended me indefinitely, which was great. But typical England hockey, so I got suspended indefinitely. But I was never going to go back anyway. So I just went into club coaching then. And I started off at one club, was there 4 years, went to another club there for about 7 years. I've now been here for 10 years, I think. And this is coming to the end of its cycle now over the next year or two. And I'm looking for my next little things to do. But I'm very lucky in that I have managed to stay in this phenomenal sport of ours for such a long time. And I'm still competing at the top end of it. And I'm just an old bloke. So I'm very lucky. Which is by thinking, I'm never going to be that coach. That's not the man I'm going to be. So I know I've sat in enough changing rooms before matches, in tournaments, in hotels, in meetings, and I just thought, we haven't got enough here. We don't know what we're doing here, and this is no good. And so when I became that's not true of all the coaches. And I had 2 or 3 really good coaches that helped me a lot, but I've had a lot of coaches. Like, I don't know how many coaches I played for over the years. But Herman de Cruz in the Netherlands, who's probably the top coach ever in the world. I mean, he's right up there with your Ritzman and all that kind of stuff. I learned a lot from him in 1 year in the Netherlands, like a silly amount from him. The teacher I told you about at school, Phil Anderson, it wasn't so much from a hockey coaching point of view, but for the mentality of being an athlete. And he was just outstanding. I learned a lot from him. And there were some other people as well that I learned good deals from. But more often than not, I'd sit in a room with a coach and thought, I'm never going to be that man. So when I was teaching in the schools, I would not let anybody teach. So the kids in the schools I taught in used to start playing hockey at 7 years old. And although I was in charge of sport in the whole school and running the first 11, 17, 18-year-olds and stuff, I would always be their first hockey coach because I want to teach them how to pick a stick up, how to hold it correctly. Because if someone else does it, it's really difficult to change it. So it has to be me. So that core technical input, it's a bit late if you start that at 16. And try to do it between 16 and 25. You start that at 7, 8 years old. And you tell them how to pick the stick up correctly, how to hold it, how to make a push pass, how to make a trap, how to turn the stick over, how to make a sweep, all those kind of things. If you get that investment good in the first age, whatever the first age groups, it doesn't matter what they are. If they start at 10, if they start at 8, it doesn't matter what it is. Those first 3 or 4 years, you get that right, the rest of it's relatively easy. But unfortunately, as a sport, in most countries, we don't get that bit right. And therefore, the end bit, there's a limit. Like I said to you at the start, there's a limit on what you can do if you teach it or you learnt it badly. So if you've learnt to play hockey badly, your natural ability or whatever, and the things you will get to a certain point and you'll never get any further. And if you read this guy's books here, he will tell you that you learn it correctly. You don't do it badly better, you learn it correctly. And you might progress slower, but you will progress higher when you do that. And it's fundamental to being an elite athlete in a technical sport. And hockey is really difficult. It's probably the worst sport to learn. It's really, really tricky. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's a horrible sport to learn. But you've got to learn the correct technique. And that's what I would say is the most important thing for your coaches, man.
Okay. So that's awesome. Now, woo!
No, I'm wearing you out.
No, I mean, my brain. I think my brain is. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's my hair, which is. I don't know if I'm losing my hair or it's you who is giving me so much information. So, from your point of view again, what do you think we need to do to also, because now we had a discussion with one of a great educator, and he told me that we are really investing a lot of time in working with the teams, and which is fantastic. But the question was, what do you think we can do to improve our status? Do you think investing in coaches' education is important?
It's the most important thing.
Okay.
By a long way. So if you have, if you take it to a ridiculous extreme, if you have 10 fantastic pitches and no decent coaches, how good are you going to be? Not at all. If you've got 10 poor pitches and 10 great coaches, you're going to be way better. You can be way better. And coach education is the key. And I'll make you on that course that you talked about, the FIH high performance course. It's the first coaching course I ever did. I've never done a coaching course before. So everything I've learned by either copying coaches, like we said before, or deliberately doing the opposite of what coaches have done. You learn it by doing that. And then you look at other people and you look at techniques and you think, that's what I want to do. How do I break that technique down? Because that's a really good technique. I want to do that. And when I was 22 or something, I used to hit the ball like a middle class white Englishman, like a cricket shot. And it was rubbish. It was terrible. It was erratic. It wasn't powerful enough, and I hated it. So I didn't used to hit the ball very much. I didn't like it. And I started playing international hockey, and I saw how the continental people hit the ball. Much lower stick, much more bent legs, around the body, kind of right. Okay. So I thought, right, I want to do that. I've got no one to teach me it. I want to do that. So I got a mate of mine who unfortunately passed away about 3 or 4 years ago, who was a friend I used to know from back in the days when I was a kid. And I said to him, right, he was a hockey coach, but not a top hockey coach, a good one, but not like a elite level coach. And I said to him, right, Robbo, I want to hit the ball like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down, give you all the information, so you have the information that I've broken it down to be, and you're going to watch me and tell me I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And we spent a whole summer just changing how you hit the ball. It's really difficult because I wasn't used to hitting like that, and it wasn't a new skill. I had to break the old one down and unlearn that. But it made a huge difference. So going back to your question, if you can educate the coaches properly, the other bits you can circumvent those.
That's by far, and we don't spend enough time doing that. So I had to teach myself everything, basically, just from watching, copying, or trying not to do what other people were doing. And I think if we had, and over here in this country, our coach education is laughable. We're just a disgrace. It really is. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. But there's lots in that, and you can get relatively inexperienced people who may never have played at a really high level. They can be very effective coaches if they have a relatively small amount of knowledge and are really good at delivering it. If it's good stuff and they're good at delivering it, you don't need to have loads. This common misconception, hockey, you can have all these different things and different video. No, it's drivel. No, you don't. You need to have some good stuff that you can put across well. People believe in it and buy into it. Makes so much difference. So much. So the coach education thing is the big deal, man. That's the biggest deal, as a matter of fact, which is why now I'm kind of coming towards the end of elite team coach. I don't want to be out every night coaching and not spending time with my family and stuff. I'm looking to get into coach development a lot more. So I'm going to be doing some work for the European Hockey Federation, that kind of thing. And, maybe I'll be up in Africa with you guys, doing some stuff there as well.
Okay, awesome. So, so there's a lot of questions coming in. So just tell me, from your point of view, like when you're in Netherlands, what did we really pick up from there? And then I can just ask you the questions that our people are there are a lot of questions. So because there's a lot of.
So the Netherlands thing, the Netherlands thing was actually a real surprise to me, because what I learned from I'd always thought that the Dutch must have tons of really good coaches. And I'm not knocking how many coaches they've got remotely. And they've probably got more than we have. I'm not knocking that. I thought there'd be tons of them. And that's not the case. What they have is they have a lot of hockey. They spend an incredible amount of time from the age of like 8 on a pitch. So you have that time thing, which is quite something. And then what you have, which I learned from there when I set up my coaching practices, either in schools or in clubs or in coach education, is they have their top people coaching the youth down the club, so that you don't have to have loads of good coaches. But the newest people need to be taught by the best people to give them a chance to learn the fundamentals correctly before they get to the top end. And that was it. That was the Netherlands for me. It was an amazing experience. I go back there all the time, as you know.
So one of the questions people are asking is that what do you think is the importance of fitness? Fitness, because I think you talked about it, but somebody asking, what is the importance of fitness in modern hockey?
It's about as important as it gets, apart from technical skills, because if you can't, the game is so demanding physically. It's played over the biggest pitch, so there's no other sport has the same amount. So all our turf is viable. There's no offside. You can hit or throw the ball a long way. All pitch is viable. Everyone else plays a much smaller pitch, even if their pitches are larger in size. So rugby is a much smaller pitch. Football is a ridiculously small pitch. We play over the whole pitch. The ball travels at 90 miles an hour for fun. So physical fitness is exceptionally important. And it's actually one of the things that gives my teams an edge that other teams don't have, and that we're all fit as. And it also means that your technical skills and your brain function will degenerate later. So you can still keep being in the zone and concentrating and making the correct decisions. You'll still keep making those tracks because you're physically much fitter. And when I was an athlete, we didn't have a full-time program. I became a full-time athlete. We didn't have a full-time program. I just scoured through, it was journals back then because I'm so old, because there was no internet. I scoured through journals and found out how elite full-time athletes trained. And I just copied their ideas. So the fitness bit is exceptionally important. You need to be fast, and you need to be able to recover from maximal efforts quickly. So speed, not endurance. Don't travel a long way really slowly. It's not important for us. We need to be fast and to have speed endurance that we can recover from maximal efforts very, very quickly and get our heart rate back down again. So it's really up there.
Yeah, fantastic. And from your quick question, what do you think is the biggest difference in training between, for example, the English teams and the top teams now? Talking about the Dutch, the Belgians, and now the Indians.
I think, well, that's right. I can answer this question for hours, which I won't bother you with. I think our performance program is deeply flawed. I think the people doing it are mostly deeply flawed, and I think the people running it are exceptionally flawed. And I think that we are just drunk on lottery funding. So I don't think that we have any of the, well, very few of the attributes that you would write down are needed for an elite performance program. I think we're way off, and we have more money and more time than anyone else. We have nearly more athletes than anyone else, and we're poor. And our program throughout our country is decidedly bad. We're not run well. There's no focus on the elite game. No focus on coach developments. The youth don't have a chance to progress through. There are so many things wrong with it, Moses. I could go on for hours and I'll just bore everybody, so I won't bother.
Yeah, good.
They're much better. If I look at the positives on the continent, the way the Belgians managed to get themselves to where they are now from being decidedly average sort of 15, 20 years ago was they invested massively in the club program and in good coaching. And this is the question that you asked me just now about coaching and how important that is. Yeah. They invested in coach development and got those players and coaches all working at clubs. And look at the Belgians now, man. It's incredible to watch. They're phenomenal nation hockey players now.
Yeah. Okay. And great. And as for now, for us in Africa, yeah. What do you think is the key ingredient to us becoming better players? Because you just mentioned about you understanding how. I'm not saying you're superior, but being in the continent, we are naturally athletic. We have no problem with speeds. We have no problem with recovery.
No.
Yeah. So what do you think could be the mighty thing we need to do to improve our ability to become better?
Okay, I'm not an expert on the particular circumstances, but I would say that unfortunately, as things stand currently with development, you need to get more people getting out of Africa and into Europe to play in the higher quality leagues and the more frequency of hockey. And if you could have more people doing that, then that has a tremendous knock-on effect. So if you look at, give me an example. If you look at the Kiwi national team, so the Kiwi national, so remember when we were on the course with Shane, weren't we? Shane McAleese, remember?
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about how they work it out there. And I've got a couple of Kiwi guys play for me. And he was saying that what the Kiwis did, which was a really good idea, was they got as many guys into Europe as possible. So you have people like Simon Childs, who's obviously like, world class. I mean, his peak, he was different gravy to my, and he was in the Netherlands, obviously doing that. But a lot of them, when Belgium wasn't quite as good, went into Belgium. Good players went into Belgium, played in that elite environment, played with a better tactical knowledge, played with a better physical input on the better facilities and all that kind of thing. And they just grew as players. And if you look at the Kiwi team that went to, the men's team I'm talking about, that went to the last Olympics, which was probably their best team since they won the Olympics back in '76 and beat Australia in the final.
Yeah.
They had a lot of world quality players there. And I think a big contributing factor to that was getting out of the New Zealand bubble and going across to Europe. And what they do is they try and get to Belgium, the vast majority, because then they build their national training in around how the Belgian league works.
Yeah.
So you don't get a clash between Kiwi training, because obviously it's 12 hours away. So you can't just pop to it. You've got to go halfway around the world and jet lag. Yeah. So they hold some camps in Belgium. They make sure they don't hold camps that clash with the league. And it's made a massive difference. So I would say the same for a lot of African nations. If you get players out, not just go and never come back. They want to bring stuff back. Definitely. Because Shane's gone back now and he's back in Kiwi now, having been in Belgium for years. You want to get these people out, get them to get some experience. They can still play national team, but they'll bring back quality when they come back. And it's exactly the same for the coaches. The coaches need to get out and experience other things. And, I think it makes so much difference because the game in the top countries here, the Netherlands, the Belgians, the Germans, in the Spanish, it's way ahead of most other people. It really, really is. And you need to get some experience of that. So that's what I would say. Players need to try and get out if they can do. And coaches similarly. You know, you can bring coaching experience in, you can work with video and stuff. But if they can get out at all, even if it's just for a week every now, like you've done for a number of years, where you go away and you get that experience, you see that different way of doing it.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, well, that doesn't fit Kenya completely, but some of those bits I can nick or adapt, and I'll get something out of that. Same with the players, and it'll make a big difference. Yeah, I'd love to have a couple of Kenyan athletes in my club. I'd smash them up tomorrow. You know, really, be great. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. So yeah, Jules, man. Yeah, guys are saying that the time we have is not enough, because we need to do have more communication but finally, just to sum it up, so I can I can just say, hey, this my discussion with my conversation with Jules, and this is what we pointed. So just in brief, if you are here and you have all these continents, and you are just told in 3 minutes or 4 minutes, you have to describe. Okay, Jules, you're a smart guy. Yeah? You have to package all your knowledge after understanding the challenges we have here, and you have to pass the information to make us improve. I don't know. Does it make sense? So from all the experience you've heard, all the interactions you've had, and the kind of quality friends you have, based on your communication with them, and now you're like, boom, Jules, you only have 3 minutes to talk to the African guys whose eyes are wide open to receive from you. What will you say are the key important things for any person or any country to improve their hockey?
Okay, so from the stuff that we mentioned already, invest in coach education. But the coach education you invest in, they need to be educated in having simple things that they believe in, that they can then pass on with passion, and the players will buy into. So you don't need to give a coach. I mean, I've been told so many things, I've just completely ignored it because it's just rubbish. And it's a little thing. And if you look at any other team sports, the real successful teams, it's not complicated stuff. It's just a few things done really, really well. And hockey is one of the worst sports for looking at tons of extra little bits. So invest in the coaches, but teach the coaches a relatively simple program. Now, I say to my team, if you drew a circle and you drew 60% of that circle, colour the 60% in, right, that's my bit. So me as coach, I'll give you 60% of what you need to win a game. So I'll give you some core fundamentals, I'll give you some core fitness, I'll give you some core tactics, and that's what you need. The other 40%, that's what you bring to the party as a player. But we all bring the same 60%. So whether Moses, you're playing fullback or I'm playing fullback, 6% of our game will be exactly the same. And all our teammates know about that. So whether in a certain situation, you will do exactly the same thing as I would do. But the other 40%, of course, is completely down to you or down to me. And that makes us really easy to play with and really difficult to play against. So we keep the fundamentals tight, not too many of them, and we get really, really good at them. And those fundamentals take up 60% of what you need to be a coach or to be a player. The other 40%, that's your individual personality, your particular skill set, how your genetics make you be able to play and do that. So invest in those coaches, keep it simple, and get to people as early as, don't start putting the best coaches at the top end. You've got to have the best coaches at the bottom end, or you're never going to get a decent top end. It just won't work, man.
Wow.
Am I over time?
Wow, yes. And now the last one. I know you're crazy about indoor.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So we are trying to start something here indoor, and for a starting country or starting, I know other African countries want to start. What do you think is a basic thing for us to need to start? Apart, I know you'll be coming down here and we're gonna do some workshops, but what would be the basic things? Yeah, just to start.
Well, the great thing with indoor, the really, really good thing with indoor, I mean, it's good fun and everything, it's great to watch, but forgetting that for the minute, one of the great things with indoor is that it gets people used to having opponents really close to them.
Mm-hmm.
Outdoors, you know, someone if you've got a ball and someone comes within 4 or 5 yards of you, you're thinking, "Whoa, that's really it's not close at all." Indoor, everyone's within 4 or 5 yards of you, and you get used to having that composure on the ball. Another great thing with indoor, excuse me, is if you're good, you can play indoor very tactically, and it gets people used to learning how to, one, coach it and it get received, and two, receive it and put it into play. So I've been doing indoor for a long time, and sometimes, so let me give you an example. Two, not this season just gone, the one before. After our first weekend of indoor hockey, we had 4 games. I got it wrong. I didn't get the tactics really good, and we end up with much less points than we should have done. And we came for second. We only play over 2 weekends normally. We came for second weekend. I said, "Look, fellas, I'm sorry. I got that wrong, and I've looked at it, and I think if we make these changes, we'll be fine." We made the changes and played really, really well. But it means that it gets me used to having to make big decisions on tactics, which I think indoor tactics are great than outdoor by a long way. It gets the players used to receiving those tactics, and they put it into play. Well, I don't do anything. I'll stand on the sideline. They put it into play. And it gets you used to having people in a very close environment. And technically, indoor, you have to be superb because you can't lift it off the floor. If you're not technically superb, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
So those sort of 4 things, you know, technical ability, getting used to having lots of people around, you know where to go, and you can't throw an aerial or hit it. You can't do it. You can't lift it over a flat stick. You've got to make a better decision than that. Those kind of things. And you get better at delivering and receiving and implementing tactics. That's what indoor gives you. And it's invaluable. It makes a huge, even the Dutch who quit it have gone back to indoor hockey. It makes a big difference, especially with the younger age groups. And it's also an easy way to get people to spectate hockey. It's great to watch. If you want to get interest in hockey increasing, then you're getting to watch indoor hockey because it's like the NBA. It's end to end, goals galore.
Yeah.
Full
of action.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, outdoors can take a long time sometimes to get a bit of decent actions. A lot of mucking around the middle of the field. Not much. Out indoor, there's no middle of the field. It's one end or the other, like the NBA. There's no midfield in NBA. You have one attacks. I mean, that's all there is to it. You know.
So, fantastic. You know, Jules, we need to have you back again because, we have a lot of questions coming, but maybe I'll email them to you, and then we can. But anyway, thank you so much for
it's been a pleasure, man.
for being here on Hockey Farm Sports. I will break it down and just replay it again over and over again for the whole week because people are really hungry for knowledge here. I think, and there's a new revelation. People want to be knowledge-based coaches, but I also told them knowledge is important, but again, you have to work with people who have seen it differently. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Must do. Yeah.
So thank you so much. I can't wait to have you in Kenya, spoil you a little bit, take you to a beautiful, you know, you guys, you talk about, you go to Bali, you go to Paris, to France for some sunshine. Wait until you come to the tropics, man.
I might never leave, man. I might just stay there forever.
so thank you so much for having time with us today. We are really, really pleased to be with you here. And viewers, that is my friend Jules. He's a big guy, man. Yeah, you can think he's a boxer, but he's a great dude. So he'll be coming to Kenya, hopefully, and we'll have some workshop going on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So thanks again, and cheers, bro.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah, take care. Hey, be safe, Be safe. I hear London
Watch
is...
that virus.
Watch
that virus.
All right, cool.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.